Wow, what a beautiful brown. Welcome everyone, my name is Phil Rowley and I'd like to welcome you to my fly tying bench where I'm going to show you how I tie some of my favorite stillwater fly patterns to help you catch beautiful fish just like this one. Today I'm going to tie the Chromie, one of my favorite Chironomid pupa patterns. Here are the materials you'll need to tie this great little fly. Place the hook into the vise, put on the black nickel bead with the narrow end of the taper towards the hook eye. We're going to slide that back out of the way because the first step is to tie in our gills. So we're going to attach the 8/0 black tying thread directly behind the hook eye. Trim away the excess. And for the gills, I'm using a single strand of sparkle yarn. You can also use white uni-stretch is a good gill material as well, particularly for smaller flies. I'm going to tie this in place with the majority of the sparkle yarn out over in front of the hook eye. Place a wrap underneath to help caulk it up. This will just make it easier to tie on the fly at the end. A few wraps to secure. Trim away the butts. Cover them up with tying thread. Grab your whip finisher. 2 or 3 turns and remove the tying thread. Now if you're tying a lot of chromies or a lot of chironomids using this style, you can tie a whole bunch of hooks with the white yarn already on and then put the beads on later, but we're just doing the one right now. So now with that, the gills in place, we're just going to slide the black bead forward, tight up against the hook eye. We'll trim those gills to length at the end of the fly, and we're going to reattach our tying thread directly behind the bead. Make sure it's on there good and tight. Trim the excess and then cover the entire hook shank with a base layer of tying thread. This provides traction for the materials so they don't slide around on the hook shank. And we're going to go down the bend roughly so it's about I'd say a 45-degree angle. You can see on the thread there, 45-degree angle between the back of that crushed down barb and where the thread is. And then we go forward again. So our thread is hanging behind the black bead in preparation for tying our rib material in. For the ribbing, I'm using a single strand of red holographic mylar. I'm going to stab that into the back of the bead a bit, if I can. Helps position it, hold it there, and secure it down the near side, the side closest to you, all the way down the hook shank. Right back to where you started that base layer, and then back up again to the rear of the bead. So you have your rib material all tied in place. For the body material, I'm going to use 2 strands of Flashabou. I'm going to tie them in by doubling them around the tying thread. The first step is to get these 2 strands to behave as one. So to do that, just run them through your lips so they're moist and they're now stuck together. I'm going to pull down on the bobbin, lay the Flashabou on the barrel of the bobbin, my fingers holding it in place. There's equal amounts of Flashabou on either side of the bobbin. I grab both sides of the Flashabou, doubling them around the bobbin like so, slide them off onto the tying thread, and now I can place them wherever I want. This is a great technique not only for Flashabou on the Chromie here, but if you're tying rubber legs on, any material you want to place precisely on a spot, you can do so by using this doubling technique. So we've just got it in place, a few extra wraps to secure it, and now we're just going to moisten our fingers to help keep the materials together and go down the hook shank, one turn right next door to the other, being careful not to nick the material on the hook point. Nice tight wraps all the way down, and then we're going to come forward, and by doing this, by wrapping the material over itself, we make a very durable body because it's very hard for the material to unwind when it's wound over itself. and also we get a chance to cover up any gaps or mistakes we may have made. And I kind of overlap the wraps more towards the front portion of the body to help to build the slight taper common to the natural pupa. So we just get that up, a couple of turns over top. Again, 2 wraps to secure. Fold back. Trim away the excess, and the body is complete. I'm now going to wind the ribbing forward over the body. Now the ribbing on the Chromie serves 2 purposes. The red coloration is not by accident. It's there to suggest the residual hemoglobin that gathers not only along the abdominal segments of the pupa, but also gathers right at the tip of the abdomen in the butt area. So we're going to start, and that's why I left that black spot there deliberately open. So I'm going to cover that with my red holographic mylar. So be careful of the hook point. I'm just going to go around 2 to 3 times to form a small red butt, and then now I'm just going to open the wraps to spiral the red holographic mylar forward over the body to form the rib. And just go right up behind the black bead, pass the bobbin over a couple of times, and lock off the rib. Now I'm going to tie in the peacock herl thorax. I'm going to take a single strand of peacock herl, trim away the very tip that's very brittle, tie in the trimmed peacock herl directly behind the bead, and wind the herl, basically covering any thread work you've done, 3 to 4 times, just to build that up to suggest the thorax. You can't hurt a fly by having peacock herl in it. I'm going to pass the thread over, tie it off, trim away the excess herl. Now we're going to add some cement. Now the trick is, if you try to apply head cement in a traditional manner by just sort of dropping it in here, there's a good chance you're going to get that into the peacock herl and mat down the fibers. What we're going to do is use the tying thread to carry the cement, in this case brushable super glue, into the tie-off area. So I've just coated about 3/8 of an inch with brushable super glue. This is the product here, Crazy Glue or Loctite, either is good. And now we're just going to pass that right on the tie-off area. The head cement's down where it needs to be, in this case the brushable super glue, right in the base of the peacock herl to help reinforce the fly. All we now have to do is whip finish 2 or 3 times directly behind the bead, disengage, and trim. And the tying portion of the Chromie is done. The next things we're going to do, we're going to reinforce the body and trim the gills. Now the gills you want to trim so they are about as long as the bead. So no matter what size fly you're tying, the gills are always as long as the bead. You can guarantee your proportions that way. Now we need to reinforce the body because unfortunately, while great material for the body and the rib, holographic mylar and silver flashabou are not durable. So we're going to first of all provide a base coat using our brushable super glue. Just coat that around. Be careful not to get that into the peacock herl. And if you want, you can rotate the vise just to, so it just spins around, but the super glue sets pretty quickly. So once that's set, we have to going to give it a final coat of a glossy material, a glossy coating, to really get that fly to light up and again add to its durability. Okay, the brushable super glue has had ample time to dry. It's now time to provide a gloss coat to this fly to further reinforce and really augment the shine. This fly is designed to imitate an inflated pupa, a chironomid pupa that is totally inflated with trapped gases that add buoyancy, helping it to elevate its way up to the surface and its final transformation from the pupa to winged adult. To do this, I'm going to use some of the Loon Outdoors Hardhead Clear. And I'm just going to apply that with a bodkin because it's a very slender body. The brush is a little too, and we can control the thickness with the bodkin by just simply massaging it all over different parts of the fly. And it's reasonably viscous, which is nice. Nice thick stuff, so it doesn't run all over the place and you can control it. And we're just going to smear that around. A light coat's all we need. Remember, we've got a good base coat of brushable super glue there. There is the finished chromie. An excellent chironomid pupa, particularly when the hatch is strong. When those inflated pupa are visible in the water column, this body reflects the light and is a real magnet to the trout. It's a deadly pattern when the hatch is on.